Happy Saturday, ladies, and welcome to the Connect Show Miami. And Saturdays are all about success. And today we're discussing how to move forward during Mercury Retrograde. So let me ask you, is this something that you even believe in? Is it something that's even real?
All right, I'll tell you.
I don't know.
You know, so many people get really wrapped up in Mercury retrograde, and I know it's real, right? But I think that I really have the philosophy, nothing is real unless you give it your focus and your energy. It's only real if you decide it's real. So for me, I just like to go, when people are like, Mercury in retrograde, I'm like, no, I delete those thoughts. So that's the way I handle Mercury in retrograde. How about you guys?
Yeah, so, sorry, I'm going to be the person to be like, so can you explain what that is?
Tracy, you'll probably explain it better than me, even though I hear it constantly.
I think it means like the planets are at a certain location. I have no
so often.
Yeah. And basically what we do say is that you shouldn't sign contracts, that a lot of technology glitches happen, all kinds of stuff happens, but really like that you're not supposed to sign contracts. But like I said, for me, I just feel like, you know, nothing is real unless you give it the life and the energy and attention. So
what do you think, Stitches?
I'm gonna have to take that route because no, I'm that person. If it's meant to be, it's gonna be, and God is just gonna make a way for it. But we know certain things when it doesn't seem right, and you get that, like, I call it the Holy Spirit will tell you like, no, boo boo, don't go there, or I'm gonna need you to go. Then you just go with it. But yeah, that's where I am.
I mean, I love it because I can't tell you how many people talk to me about Mercury retrograde. They'll say, oh my gosh, Mercury retrograde, that's why Zoom isn't working. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it never works. It's a miracle when Zoom works properly from the get-go. I'm always like, praise the Lord when Zoom just works immediately. But it's so interesting how we attach ourselves to things. And look, I'm sure there is some truth. There's something historically that made this real, but only belief makes things real. Right. I believe this really at the core of everything. I even believe, you know, so much of when we think that we're healed or we think that someone can help us is because we're finally ready to be healed. We're ready to be taught something, or we're ready to be shown a new way. It's a teacher or a guide or a guru, whoever, they can help us, but it has to begin with us, all of us. And I mean, but I will blame anything that I can for sure. If I make a mistake, I will blame Mercury retrograde if I mess up.
That's what I feel like happens though. It's like, I feel like for a lot of people, I'm not saying you, Susie, but I feel like for a lot of people, it's like, oh, well, I can't do blah, blah, blah because Mercury's in retrograde. Oh, well, you know, like I wasn't prepared, or this didn't go through because Mercury's in retrograde. I'm like, really? Or was it just Tuesday?
Or were you just hungover, honey? Let's just say it. Yeah. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with being tired or hungover or needing a nap, and just, you know, telling the truth. I actually feel like truth telling is such a delicious thing because it's so rare. I remember one time, and I've written about this, and it turned into a popular column because I feel like we're all so afraid to make a mistake. I remember one time a boss asked me for something when I had back in my corporate job, and I just didn't do it. Right. And I was like, okay, what are the 3 excuses I can come up with in a second as to why it's not done? And then I
do it.
I just forgot. I'm a human being, right? And I was like, I can blame someone else. I can say it was tech. I can say, sorry, I'm busy. And I just said, you know, I forgot. Sorry. Like, and it's quite unlike me to forget anything. So, but in that moment when you've made a mistake, you can feel like you're a failure, right? You can feel like I'm going to be exposed. All of these weird issues that we have can kind of come up. But I remember just telling the truth, and I was just, okay, can you do it now? Like, that was it. What we build up to be so serious isn't.
And that's a good point. I wonder if anybody watching, and you can type and tell us and DM us and tell us your experience. Like, when you do make a mistake, what runs through your mind? Is it what Susie said? Like, are you thinking of alternatives? It's funny. I was talking to somebody and they asked me a question, and I paused, literally, like I paused for like, it was an odd 10 seconds. And I was tracing what my response would be and what the response to my response would be. And they're like, hello? And I'm like, oh, and I told them what I was thinking. I'm like, I was really thinking about what your reaction would be to my response. So I don't know. What do you do when you make a mistake? Do you think about how to respond to it, how people are going to respond. Well, I don't know. That's a good point you've made.
Holistic. I just think honesty is just always the best. You know, we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all forget. We all F up sometimes, you know, sometimes the way we show up isn't our best, and that's okay. That's how we grow and we learn. But don't you guys feel like it's so refreshing when someone can just own up and take responsibility for their mistakes or their misgivings? Unfortunately, I do feel like it's somewhat rare. And I feel that the more that we create a space and an environment where it's okay to be human and to be totally transparent about it, I feel like that's a really magnetic quality to have, because people then will say, like, you know, especially in business, it's like, wow, this person's the real deal, like not hiding behind some facade, but like, wow, this is a real person who sometimes forgets things, sometimes F's things up, sometimes has a hangover, sometimes all of the things. And like, isn't that just so refreshing? I find that to be actually a really magnetic quality.
I absolutely agree. It's refreshing and it's comforting, right? Because it's like, oh, sorry, buttoned up Tracy or buttoned up Stitches. Yep. You're always on time. You got it ready to go. You know, it's like, I'm just trying to make it through the day, man. You know? So when we make a mistake and we can just like say it, I forgot. And by the way, and what's so criminal about that? Come and arrest me, put me in cuffs. Like, truly, we're allowed to make mistakes. And I think that when we're easier about them, other people find comfort in that because they make mistakes too. And we're just lighter about life and we let everything just flow more easily. So
here's the thing. Can we handle when somebody tells you the truth?
I love it when someone tells you the truth. I'm like, oh, human.
Honestly, and even like, you know, people that I work with, like if a team member like messes something up or like forgets, like, what I don't like is the like, oh, I sent it to you, let me resend it. I'm like, really?
No, you didn't.
That's gonna be our thing. Really?
Yeah, but I appreciate when someone just says, you know what, I just got busy, or like my kid got sick or whatever happened. Like the truth, just tell me the truth. It's fine. You know, it happens to all of us. We know the difference between, you know, an occasional instance and a habitual problem. Yeah, so that's the difference.
Make a mistake, learn from it, and then we move forward.
I love how we go from a Mercury retrograde to owning our mistakes. Boom. But you know what? I will say that I am open to learning more about Mercury being in retrograde. Why not? And throw everything at your success. If you know it's a really bad time to sign contracts and you can avoid it, why not push it back? Throw everything at ease, right? Where possible, but always just, I think, trust yourself over anything else. That's what I just keep coming back to. Well, ladies, as you know, the election is coming up next week. We are officially in election season. So speaking about that and entrepreneurship next.
Are you ready to transform your body in just 30 minutes a day from your living room? I'm Tracy Campoli, the creator of Total Body Transformation, the excuse-proof fitness program made for busy babes like you and me to get fit, sweat, and smile. We've been featured on Good Morning America, The Today Show, and in USA Today. All you have to do is simply log in and press play. No boredom, no stress, and no dread. All in just 30 short minutes from the comfort of your own home. Go to tracycampoli.com to get started today.
Okay, my friends. Well, most business leaders in the US believe that the outcome of this election is going to affect their business in one way or another. As female entrepreneurs, what issues are top of mind for you right now? And are you thinking this?
That's really funny. That wasn't on top of mind, to be quite honest with you. But of course, the talks of taxes and things of such. That really, if I can be honest,
yes,
and truthful, that wasn't on top of mind. So I'm interested to hear what all of you have to say about it.
Tracy?
Yeah, you know, I think it's definitely been on the top of mind, not necessarily for business, but just for life for me, just to see like what happens, you know, what changes will come through or not. I would be lying if I said that, you know, especially during election week, you know, the day of, and, you know, I am certainly no political expert, but I have a sense that we are not going to find out exactly on Tuesday. So I'm curious to see what the climate will be on social media, and knowing that that's a really big place for all of us, right, to run our businesses and to share. I I've been a little cautious about on election day, like what am I going to put out, or if I'm scheduling things just to, just to be conscientious of, I don't know what the climate's going to be. And no matter what it is, it's fine. No matter what's happening, I really have a strong belief that no matter what is happening in the outside world, in politics, the economy, the environment, all of that, our world starts from us and who we're being and what we're drawing in. So, while it is an important topic for me, I also know, like, to the core of my being that we're going to be okay. How about you, Susie?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I always know that peace begins with me, right? Everything that's going on externally is not going to be within my control. And would you believe, in my life, I have never been a citizen of a country that I've lived in. So I've never even been able to vote.
Right.
So a lot of people don't know that. They think, oh, anyone can vote if they're residents. You have to be a citizen of the country. So so first of all, that's true for me, my whole adult life. But also I observe, I have compassion for everybody. I can listen, I can do my best to listen without judgment. Of course, I have my own feelings, but know that all that's ever really going to be of value, the other thing that I can do that's of value is to continue to do my thing, right? To keep showing up, focus on what I can control, focusing on how I can help and serve and be there. And really that's it, because everything is just so unpredictable. This year, in general, it's thrown so much at us, but I do know that human beings are strong and resilient. And when it comes to business, again, I mean, always, no matter what is happening outside world, different people, different events, all sorts of circumstances, it's always going to be okay. And what now for me?
And I'll be honest, in that sense, I think what you guys have mentioned, ladies have mentioned, why? Because the work that I do, it's like a lot. I have to search for the news, and I have to search for the bad, and I need to live to search out for the good. But just seeing even what's happening in Nigeria and SARS and what's been going on. So on a business sense, I would say it's like we have been thinking about I don't want to say anticipating, but having that in mind if there was another shutdown, because the reality is we still have COVID. We still have racial tension that's happening. We have a lot of things, elections, and a lot of things are in place. So in that sense, as far as business, and if there was a shutdown that were to happen, how would we pivot? What would we do? But still trying to keep your peace to some degree and still controlling what you can, because there's some things we have no control over, but whatever it is that you can control, you control that the best way you can. Yeah.
I have a question for you guys, just to tack onto that. Do you feel like, just given that we still do have COVID and there's so much uncertainty around that, do you feel like it will be, in a sense, this is such a weird thing to say, but like somewhat easier because it's not the first time, like we've been through this before, we've seen the empty toilet, paper situation. Like, I'm just curious, like what your thoughts are, like if that were to happen again. What do you think? Do you think it'll be as difficult, the same, easier, harder, what?
I'm hoping we can get to that point, and we do get to the point, exactly what you said, of like, we don't feed in, if there was something that were to, break out, if you will, that people can kind of stay, I don't know if it's proper to say, but level-headed and still somehow looking out for each other and doing what we can, because the only difference that I would see with this one is exactly what we mentioned, the elections and help. It's just different added things to this now that could cause people to panic, hoping that we don't, but that it's just added things that may make it a bit different.
Yeah, I feel as if, a lot of people have been using this word uncertain times, unprecedented, uncertain. This has always been true.
Yeah.
No one can predict the next 24 hours. Nobody, right? Even in just like the small corner of the world that you touch. And your grounding has to come from within you. And unpredictable for sure, uncertain for sure. So like, what do? You can go crazy future tripping. And you can also inspire a lot of panic in others. And I was reading A Course in Miracles, which I love as metaphysical text. And one of the questions is how to end suffering. It's a very big question. I always joke that it's light reading, how to end suffering, right? And it says you can't heal suffering. You can't like soothe, be there to serve when you're suffering. Like you have to be the energy, and not this perfectly peaceful, serene, everything's fine human,
Right.
but just about getting your own self in order and not just reacting.
And remember, we have so much that we can control on that too. You know,
Yes.
Dishes was saying, you know, and I live with someone whose job is to like news. You know,
Yes, that's hard.
that's not my 1-year-old. It's my husband.
She's smart.
It's very smart, let me tell you. But you know, keeping boundaries on what you're consuming, what sources you're consuming, how much you're scrolling, all of those things. That helps me to keep that peace of mind. And I love that you said, Susie, peace begins with me.
Yeah, and I tell you, the scroll hole is real, right? When it comes to anything, you can go down I mean, sometimes I even end up on those terrible things. What is it like? Why we don't see Eva Mendes anymore? You know, those horrible clickbaity things, or whatever it is. Like the scroll hole, it is dangerous online where it can take you. So I think it's just so good to be conscious.
And I was talking to my best friend, and we were talking about this. Sometimes it's okay to, if you're having a conversation with someone and it's just too dark and it's too much, it's okay to say, hey, can I call you back? Or it's okay to kind of disconnect from that and have peace in doing that, because you will disrupt your peace if you don't. If you can help them to find peace, cool. But if you find yourself being sucked in, honey, not today. I got to go in my car. I'll do what we call it is the church finger. And I'll go in my little corner and be like, I need a second. And then I'll go in my closet. I say, Jesus, take it away.
I'm going to start using church fingers.
I want a church finger. How are we doing? Yeah. And and protecting yourself energetically. Boundaries aren't just like you need to come here at this specific time, or my babysitter. It's not like these kind of or boundaries around when you stop working, that time per day. It's so much more energetic than that, right? And it's okay to even say, I've said it before. I'm like, let's talk about something lighter for a minute, or you know what, I have nothing to contribute here. I'm really happy to listen. And that's just the truth. Like sometimes I don't have anything but to speak, or I'll be like, this is, or you can just like redirect a conversation if you know that it's just going to not be helpful. It's one thing, right. I think if there's something helpful or there's like someone processing something, but you can tell when it's not that too. Yeah. And this goes for everything. Like truly also, I know we're speaking about many things here, but this also goes for gossip. Often you see gossip situations. Someone's like, did you? Yeah. Like, we don't like that, I mean, Tracy and I, we joked about this before, that would be really boring housewives because we're just nice to each other. And we'd be like, yeah, I'm supporting her over here. Nothing, no flying wine glasses, no. I'm not throwing it out. Yeah, I'll sip it. Thank you very much. But truly, it's always okay that you don't owe anyone anything, right? And that the conversations that you're part of are allowed to be healthy and they're allowed to fuel you too. It's always great to be curious and open, but when you're not feeling it, that's also okay.
And trust.
You're not feeling it. It's okay.
That's how I feel about that, ladies. Now, coming up, we're going to be speaking about Instagram, right? Because I see more and more people posting right now. There's just so much content out there. It is a heated time. Coming to the end of the year, approaching a new year, we're seeing all sorts of memes, jokes, new trends. Coming up next, more on the gram.
What's going on, family? Your girl Stitch is here, iHeartRadio's Midday Bay on-air personality. You can find me on The Beat Miami, Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and across other iHeartRadio stations within the country. And although most people may know me as an artist or radio jockey, I do my best to encourage off the air as well with my new children's book, Tu es belle, You Are Beautiful, Abby's Great Day. It's rated #1 for new releases in multicultural children's book on Amazon. Grace of God, baby. My mission is to encourage children to love the skin that they were born in and that God gave them. And because I'm trilingual, I also encourage them to learn a few keywords in different languages. You can purchase your very own copy and other Tu es belle learning activities today at tuesbellereaders.com. That's TUESBELLE readers.com. Love you for free.
Okay, ladies, welcome back to the Connect Show. Now, together we are always going to be on this mission to keep moving forward. So in this season, before posting, before creating content or speaking, whatever it may be, how are you kind of taking a minute? Are you being extra considerate? Is there any kind of routine or ritual that you have while creating content?
For me, I think now I'm to the point, because I think I mentioned that to you ladies earlier. It's like, I want to say I struggled a bit with it because there was so much going on in the day that people sat me down and said like, hey, you got to really post. This is a part of your brand. This is part of, you got to post. So yeah. I just really had to stop and take time and create content, because I feel like everything for me is content, because I'll say some, if there was a camera around me, y'all, I say a lot of off the wall stuff. So now it's just remembering like, oh, I can post that. Oh, I can post that. And just kind of connect it to the brand and connect it to products and just make it make sense. So it's really just finding that point to where it's like, I got to do it.
Tracy, you're so good at this. You're so good at posting. I see you do it so consistently.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I love posting. I do. I love posting. I love sharing. You know, and there's different kinds of posts, right? Which, you know, so sometimes it's just, you know, like get to know me and story and connection. And sometimes it is like a story that's leading to, you know, something that will help them. So it's like, maybe if I'm sharing a story about, you know, struggling with my body and my body image, like, okay, here's a program that I have or something like that. So it just depends. And it depends on which platform I'm posting on. I love Insta stories though. I freaking love Insta stories, like love it. Because I just think it's just so easy to just show up. And I feel like that's one of the best places for people to really get to know you is on your Insta stories, because it's unfiltered. It's so in the moment. Sure, you can, you know, post more professional things, but it's just, you know, kind of what's going on right now. But I, you know, like everything, it's, your life is content, you know, like as you were saying, Stitches, it's everything that we're doing is a piece of content. You know, my daughter, like my daughter's going through a phase of like hitting. She's 13 months old. She doesn't know what she's doing, you know, and she's like, and like, it does, like you have that moment because someone hits you in the face, right? That's a story, right? That's a relatable story of like, how do you like, you can't really teach a 13-year-old. You can just say, touch me like this, but you know, maybe it's a boring story, but it's still a story. How about you, Susie? I think you're fantastic at this as well.
Well, I don't know, Matt. I feel like some people are just so good at this, and I post what I think is interesting, but not with any regulation or pressure on myself, and I take regular breaks if I need them. I think the most important thing is to, one thing that I don't do, which I'm happy about, is I don't really scroll that much. I'll post, scroll a little, post, and take breaks unapologetically and without explanation. I see people say, sorry, I was gone for a while. It's like, I didn't notice you were gone. You know, chill, you know?
That very much. I really dislike that. I would like to just chime in, and excuse me for interrupting, but like, I am not one with the like, in case you missed me, it's like there are billions of people on this.
Do you have any idea how many people I follow?
Yeah. It's kind of weird. I feel like those are self-serving, but anyway.
Yeah. So I feel like it's such a great tool. And what I've learned too recently is that Instagram has now come out with badges, which allow influencers to monetize their following on Instagram Live with specific tips. I feel like it's getting better and better and easier to use. It's just frankly not something that I think it's not the biggest vehicle sales engine for me, but it's a fun thing to do when I feel like it. And I think that that's also just a great, how is it something making you feel? This applies to anything. Yeah. Right? It's like, if it feels good, dial it up. If it doesn't, don't. And if you're neutral, I'm kind of on the neutral feels good side, then do whatever you want, right? Just do whatever you want. Right? There doesn't have to be such a structure, right? Or someone asked me once, what's your policy on negative comments? I say I leave them. For a couple of reasons. First of all, I don't see them a lot of the time because I'm not looking at what people are saying unless I'm consciously responding. And the second reason is, this is probably the most important, anyone who gets a negative comment, I would like them to be comforted by seeing my negative comments. If someone writes a comment about me on one of my ads or one of my posts or whatever, and they say something critical, I want to leave it so someone else can see that. And then when they get a negative comment, they'll say everyone does. Someone else does too. And I think that that's cool.
I love that perspective. Go ahead, Suji.
You sure?
Please.
Okay, I really want to chime in on this one because I experienced something and I'm grateful for it. And if it's somebody maybe in this or this is prevention for you. Stitch has already been through it, so you don't have to.
Yeah, good.
Right?
Yeah.
So there was a situation where there was a piece of content that we created maybe 3 years ago, and we were finally able to do it, and it was doing really well. And then out of the blue, this is a two lesson part for somebody who may be doing the negative comment and somebody who's experiencing the negative comment. So I'm hitting both of y'all. So we posted it, and then all of a sudden, I get this message from somebody who's like telling me I took their content and I did what they did. And I'm like, "Brr?" And then I was so ready to be like, but something, and I knew it was God. He was like, "Don't do it." And I was about to. And literally, ladies, no lie, my cousin who like always prays with me, he called me as right before I hit send.
Amen.
They tell me God ain't real. Right before I hit send, he calls me. He said, "You okay? Everything good?" I'm like, "Actually, no." Actually, no. And no lie, the person created a campaign against me for the content. And I thank God for it because people were sticking up for me. People were just really going in for me. And at that time, I say this is a two-edged sword. You don't have to respond to everything. Choose your battles very wisely. And at that time, I was going through so much. It was literally a life or death situation that I was going through. So somebody who's putting out those negative comments, be very mindful and cautious of what you're commenting and what you're putting out to people, because you have no idea what they're dealing with. I honestly couldn't put energy into that because of what I had to deal with. And if you're commenting pero something negative, you don't always have to tell how you feel about something, okay?
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. So
I mean, who's sitting around leaving negative comments anyway? You know, on like, have you ever left a negative? Like, you just don't follow the person, or you just keep moving on. You know, like that's it. So I sometimes think it's funny, like if I get a negative comment because I feel sad for the person. I'm like, okay, you know, I've been called like all kinds of names on YouTube, like so many things.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, who's sitting around doing that? It's probably someone who really doesn't feel good with themselves, you know, and that they have the time to tell someone like, "You're ugly," you know, whatever. It happens, you know, and it's like, okay, you know, that's fine. You know, I have certainly in the past used it as content. So kind of to talk about what we were talking before, we're like screenshotting it and kind of using it as like a teaching lesson, blurring out the person's name, you know, sometimes not depending on it. But lately that hasn't happened. As I think it's also an energy thing of like, I don't have the energy or the time to even care. Like, who cares?
church finger.
Yeah, I feel all that. I know that everything is always a projection too. So even though the last thing you want to do is show some compassion, it's the thing that's most required. Right. Like you guys said, I mean, who's there? Who's sitting around like in a basement somewhere is telling everyone they're ugly and they don't know what they're doing and they're stupid or whatever it may be. It's like, oh, it's okay. You know, really, because think about when you ever want to say something, even just to like your friend, right, or your spouse, whatever, you're like, you want to snap. It's not because you're feeling good, right? Never, ever in that moment. So, and yeah, and aren't we all just a bit too busy having a good time to energetically exchange in anything? That's my policy. But yeah, but I leave my negative comments up for sure. I don't see them all, but it's very sweet to when people start defending you for you because they know you. But I also say you don't have to do that either. Lovingly, no pressure. All love. Do you?
I appreciate it, and I'm thankful for it. So, and it's not to say that we can't have opinions. It's not to say that you can't voice yourself, but just be mindful of what we're putting out. Yeah. You never know. Well, my mama said, you never know what somebody's going through, so just be kind to everybody.
That's right, Mama. Thank you. Very wise word. She is right. Okay, coming up next, more on social media.
Welcome to the Connect Network, where we bring you girl bosses month after month after month at our masterminds. If you are ready to expand your circle, join the Connect Network's membership today.
Yes, indeed, beautiful people. Do not forget, you got to check out our very own Madam Susie Moore. Her book, Stop Checking Your Likes, which is doing amazingly well. It's been featured on a number of magazines, number of media platforms. So if you don't have it yet, you're sleeping. It's okay. Wake up now and go get the book. And speaking of getting the book, this young lady who is also from the Connect, Texas. So hey, sis. Sharon Radigan, she's going to be joining us. She bought the book and she has a few things that she's going to share. So stick around, don't move. It's the Connect Miami. Where are you going? Nowhere, because we're still here.
Okay, so I purchased this book because I already have a lot of thoughts around the stories that we have around what people think about us. How much does it impact the way we live? The lives that we choose, does it stop us? Are we afraid to put ourselves out there? And I had many conversations about not allowing that to stop you. And so when I saw the name of this book, it just resonated and it spoke to how I already feel about all of this. And so this book was just such an interesting perspective on this same conversation where you just need to go out and do what you do. And that's all that has to matter. And anybody else's opinion of it cannot be something that stops you. So read the book.
Stop Checking Your Likes is the hottest must-read of the moment. This is not a book about social media. It's about shaking off that need for approval and living your incredible life. Available everywhere books are sold.
Welcome back to the Connection Miami. I would love to know your favorite platform or channel for making money, because we've been speaking about social media a lot. It's a very helpful, awesome channel. But what do you most look to right now? What is like the generator that's hottest for you in your business?
I would have to say Instagram right now because I don't know, that's what I use mostly. I will tell you the truth. I am getting into Twitter now. Like I'm tweeting stuff and like I see things and I retweet them and I'm like, oh, I kind of like this Twitter thing. So I'm into Twitter, but right now I would have to say definitely Instagram for sure.
Yeah, Twitter is the writers' platform. All media professionals are on Twitter, so I love it for that reason. Tracy, I know you're a big YouTube star over here.
Yes, I am I'm a huge fan of YouTube. So for me, usually it's YouTube and Facebook are neck and neck. It's interesting because that's where my girls are, that's where my people are, that's where my community is. My favorite platform actually is Instagram, though, just for the ease in it. And I know not recently, but I know that a lot of brands, like that's really the hot platform. But I also think it's just really, really important to look at your communities as a whole. You know, it's not only Instagram, which is great, right? But where are you? Where are your people? You know, where are you adding value and where are they? And that's important to highlight, you know, if you're speaking to brands or you're doing any kind of partnerships and things like that. What about you, Susie?
Well, I mean, I aspire to a YouTube success, Tracy. As you know, I've been more active on YouTube myself lately because I just think I feel like as a search engine, essentially what it is, I've learned so much about it. It's the place to be, especially in the long term. That said, I know this ain't that sexy, but I love email. I mean, I know that's not a social platform, but emailing, growing my email list, like a religion over the last 7 years has been so impactful for me. If you ever even notice any of my media articles, even social posts, I'll be driving you to a landing page for email capture. And I mean, nothing works like it. I mean, it's wonderful to be able to send an email and know that you'll get people who want to purchase your product or service if you just share exactly what it is that you're giving them. And today I even just released a survey as I work on something new, and we've had hundreds of responses in less than an hour. And it's incredible how I think, you know, you can just set these systems up and they work for you. So email, people love to have, you know, opinions, email's dead, I assure you it's not. I assure you it is alive and well and kicking. And I mean, think about it. J.Crew has a sale. Forget the email, right? Who's going to say we're scrolling at the right time or the right ad's going to find us? Email is just always available.
It is.
That's always my favorite.
And don't neglect that. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because a friend of mine who I don't hear from often, but I was randomly going through some of my emails, not randomly, but I always check them. But this one, I was really looking through it. And I ended up seeing one of his promotional emails that he sends. So keep being consistent with those. And I'm going to get back on the email. When I have a big event, that's when I usually will use it. But when I saw that and my reaction to it, he has a Netflix series, and I saw it and I was so happy for him. I'm like, let me get on social media and do my little stories and support. So you never know how many other people are going to do that. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Don't neglect that. Even MailChimp,
whatever server you use to retain your email addresses, remember that YouTube is owned by Google, right? They can change their policies. Facebook and Instagram owned by Facebook. They own your following. They own the algorithms. Like, it's really up to them. They can decide how much exposure you have, how much you don't have. But with email, with a permission-based email subscription, you have it. No one changes their email address unless they leave their job, right? But people don't change their email either. So it is truly a goldmine. Tracy, sorry.
I wish that I had the email addresses of all my.
You can ask them. Ask them now.
And you see how this is so cool? How some of us have this, and some of us use this, and some of us use that, but it can all be used to further business.
To use these free platforms to drive them to the ones that we own, which is your email list. That's always crucial. So on our YouTube videos, always like a link to, opt in for something to get a free gift or to do whatever, but always, yeah.
Always email, baby. Well, with that said, there are so many things that we can do and manage, and it can get certainly overwhelming. And as entrepreneurs, we certainly wear lots of hats. So how do you just make sure, as we close the show, I'd love us both to leave with a tip on how we don't get burnt out as we manage the millions of things that we can be doing. And, as entrepreneurs, your brain's always firing, right? It never really quietens down. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I'm like, idea. And I welcome those, right? But what's your avoid burnout tip that we can share as we close?
I would love to. So for me, I have a to-do list of 3. It's always just 3. So on my phone, I have an app, and it just basically looks like note cards. And so I will do 3 things each day. And I started doing that a couple of years ago, and my productivity has gone so much higher from doing that, because as entrepreneurs, of course, we have a bajillion ideas, as you said, and it's like the brain doesn't stop. But if I know, in those 3 things, it doesn't necessarily mean that I write one email to Susie,
about lunch.
It could be like, these are the emails that I need to follow up on. These are the brands that I need to reach to. This is the email sequence that I need to get done, or whatever, shoot this video. So I just will do a section of 3. And I give myself permission, if those ideas come in the night or something like that, where I can just write it out, whether you have just a notebook or just can open that thing on my phone. I'll go into a scroll hole, but just like type out that thing that comes up, so that it's not living in my brain, but that it has a place to go. I always have my notebook like next to me always, so it gets out of my brain and lives somewhere. How about
Stitches?
Susie, let me go to you.
Oh, right. Well, I have a very simple filtering system, which is just knowing 3 core values that I have. And so it's really great to know your core values. And it's a very simple exercise. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But I think that if you just know who you are, what you care most about, then you have this excellent decision-making filter that's always there. And my top 3 are fun, achievement, generosity. So I'm like, will this be fun? If it won't, it's a no, frankly, it's, and there's not a second guess. It's like, does this feel like fun? No. Okay. No, cold, out. Out skis, love you, but no. The second is like achievement. Is this going to get me towards the goals that I want to accomplish? Again, they're very clear. I know what my long-term, short-term goals are. And then does it feel generous? Does it feel like, oh yes, I'm contributing. This feels good? Because generosity is great for the giver. Right. And so that's it. I know those 3 things. And would you believe that actually filters out a lot?
Yeah.
Even though there are opportunities that might contribute to one, it might not be fun, might not feel generous. Or even though something might feel fun, it doesn't really feel like it's going to achieve something for me. So I think that just knowing your core values, and there are many simple exercises that you can do to understand what yours are, but knowing what you value is, I swear, it's such a productivity hack.
Agreed.
That's great.
For me, I will say there was a point in my life, especially throughout, I could even say from middle school, even up until college, to where I was just doing a lot. I was doing a lot, and helping people and helping things and doing things. And it came, I always felt like to a degree it had purpose, but I started learning like everything good doesn't mean you are supposed to be doing it. And I feel like that's how I ended up getting burnt out. Because like, yeah, if it's good, let's do it. But it's like, maybe that's not what you were called to do. Yeah. So I had to, I had to learn about the purposefulness of it. Is it targeted? Does it attach to the purpose? Does it attach to the goal? And sometimes, to be honest, it might not be for you. It might be to help somebody else, depending on the depths of it. But in turn, in the long run, it's like you're planting a seed. Okay, you're helping somebody else. Fine, that will somehow eventually turn back to you. You don't do it in that thought process, but if it's to help somebody, cool. But my process now really has to be, when I wake up, I have to pray. I have to like really have that time with just me and the Lord, and just like, okay, what are we doing today? What are we doing? Thankful for life, thankful for what I have, even when I'm feeling like low, like I don't want to be here no more. Still thankful for life, and just thinking about who I have in my life and what he's given me so far and what I've been able to accomplish. Because I've gone through a period, well, it's like you get it done. I'm the get it done mindset, but you never take time to recognize what you've been able to do. So it's like, take time to recognize the accomplishments. And if something is not in alignment with the purpose, you really got to take a second out and decide, really make a decision to see if it's something that you need to move forward with. Because if you're constantly doing things that's not in line, you're going to burn out. You're going to burn out. So just be mindful of what it is that you're doing, why you're doing it, and is it purposeful? Yeah. Does it make sense?
My friends, that finger. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, as always. What a fun chat, ladies. We've covered so much as usual. So catch you next week, my friends, on the Connect Show Miami. Mwah.